percent of everything.
Malcolm X is one of them. If you act, dress, and work amongst white people, you're a sellout. Now, this thinking is an obstacle to democracy.
Yeah,
if you think about it.
But you can't understand where it came from, though.
Well, that's my point. So it's you raise a good point. Historically, it made people separate. We're not them, they're not us,
Yes.
slavery, etc. In the modern day, however, that still exists. So I'm in agreement with you, but we have to understand where that came from in the first place. So now people are self-perpetuating their racial...
But where it came from in the first place is a spiritual question. It's a philosophical question.
Not a legal one, it was a legal one. I mean,
well, I think that's
black people couldn't vote.
No, sure it is. Sure, I'm trying
You're making
to
a bigger point. Right.
I'm trying to go to the undercut. Right. I'm trying to go to the root. If there's anything worth looking at for me, it's that. That's why I don't follow politics, don't watch news, because it's surface level stuff. I'm trying to deal with the deeper questions.
I'm with you.
Right. So as I was saying about, if the only thing you can control is yourself, then you must make it your top priority to question your beliefs. Why do I? It's tough, man.
Yes, I'm with you.
You can sit. I mean, I recommend it. You can sit there all day and bring up one piece of moral philosophy. It's like, why should I not hurt people? You sit with that and see how far back you can take it. It will not. If you do it honestly, it will not take you long until you're having an existential crisis and you're thinking, holy fuck, I don't know. And that's the only honest answer. And you have to make a decision. You have to say that I think life is more valuable to live than to die. And you have to make that leap of faith, or you can't move forward.
People are often tempted by simple answers, aren't they?
Of course they are. That's why we have this stuff. And understand the necessity of it. Like you have political philosophies, you have groups of people, far left, far right, Antifa, whatever, and you have religious systems. They provide answers without thinking.
Yes.
And this is a type, from my perspective, it's a type of philosophical suicide because you don't need to think. You give it up. Take it from me. But I understand why people do it. I'm not necessarily criticizing or attacking. I'm saying to make progress, the less we do that, the more we individuate, I think we're going to make some way progress like that.
I'm in full agreement with you.
So that's why people ask me, are you this, are you that, are you a Christian, you're this? It's so annoying, man, because it's hard to give a concise answer. I'm nothing of this.
I think the three of us are quite similar.
But
Say again?
There's another one?
right.
Say man, what's up? It's going good.
You said in the process of individuation, one must explore their own thinking and why these foundations were even put there in the first place. That then goes back to the issues that your end goal is to eliminate, like race, like this. Because your foundations are set by what you are, how you're perceived in society, where you fit in. Most people get in where they fit in. That's why people aren't individuals. They'd rather be part of a group, comfortable, accepted. I mean, look, if you're into psychotherapy, Jung will tell you, every human wants to be accepted by some sort of community. I mean, and
by themselves.
Sure, that's a bit deep, but
that's where I
just going by how we look at everything. People want to be part of something. I want to identify with this. I agree with these guys. Individuation takes you away from that.
I think that's weakness.
I agree, but you can't blame them. That's the thing.
I don't.
Yeah.
I'm trying to understand it. I'm trying to encourage the movement away. Because a friend of mine was asking, it's like, what do you want to achieve in the world? What do you want to actually do? And it's a really hard question. Because you have to say that something I can say has value. I don't know if it does. It has value to me, but I don't know whether I say it to others, whether it will have good value. Right. Maybe it will represent something that will go badly. You got to take that risk.
100%.
You know what I mean? Or it's not worth speaking at all.
Right.
Another thing to say is that I think it's only possible to think clearly when you communicate. If you write or if you speak. And that's another reason why I come here. I think it's very valuable for people to try and question themselves and talk to others. Because, for example, I've talked to this guy quite a few times. We had good conversations. Stuff he said has changed the way I thought about things. And hopefully some stuff I've said has changed the way he's...
no one else could do. I'm joking. I'm joking.
Oh, cheap shot. Not substantiated also. Anyway, so that's what I'm saying.
I'm in agreement. I think the floor is so important. Because people say, oh, democracy doesn't work. Oh, I hate democracy. You only get to vote every 4 years. This is the meaning of democracy. You have the freedom to be what you want to be. Don't confine yourself in all these racial acceptance.
That's a good quote. Maxi Jazz from Faithless. I don't believe in the power of politics to change things. People change and politics follow. Maxi Jazz, Faithless.
That's good.
I can't get no sleep.
He also said...
He also said I can't get no. I wonder why he couldn't sleep.
No, he said some wild shit. Okay.
good guy. He's a good guy. Bristol is a really good place for a breakdown of racial segregation. Bristol is, I think, some amazing things. And that old DJ, what's his name, who ended up walking out into the wild, and he died because he had Alzheimer's, didn't he? But he was a white guy from Bristol, playing all over Jamaica, all the way through the 70s, all the way through the 80s. He's a white guy playing in Jamaica, playing reggae music.
Yeah, reggae, ska. I think it brought a lot of people
I can't remember
together.
his name now, but may he rest in peace. Lovely fellow.
Have you had any more thoughts about prayer?
I've had any more thoughts about prayer. Not really, man.
No?
Not any specific ones. No, I can only go general and just say like what I said before on camera, on record, when I was like, oh well, you know, the thoughts that enter my mind are just thoughts that are just context specific to my memory, maybe yesterday or 5 years ago, whatever. So something that's just going to help me clear my thoughts, but not really any specific thoughts about prayer. No.
Fair play. It's like I was saying to you just a wee bit ago. It's like when you try and take a value that you think you hold and then question yourself. Just keep questioning yourself until you get to as low, as deep as you can go. And it's an incredible thing. I can't recommend it enough.
Do you pray?
No, I'm not talking about prayer. I'm talking about the deeper that you can go, the more you realize that people want to look for objective truth. This is a really tricky thing, right? Because I think it's very difficult to say that anything at all would be objective.
Yes.
You're going to have to you can make a value structure. And I was talking to a friend of mine about this, that we live here, right? We think we're going to die. We seem to have a finite time on Earth, right? And I think this finiteness, this limitation allows you to create meaning. Because imagine if you live forever. Imagine if you live forever, you never die. Would anything you do have any possible meaning? Would it be possible to have a value structure? I don't think so. Because you have no risk. You have
motivation.
You have no stake. So that's because we have limitations. It allows us to build systems of value. It doesn't need to be given to you by others. It doesn't need to be given to you by a religious group or by a god. You can make it yourself. You actually do. You self-generate it. Of course, it's influenced by others. It's influenced by society. But that's people. People made that. You understand? And maybe we'll go into that later. I don't know, in another conversation. But pick one thing, and then we'll try and get to the core of it.
Yeah, I try to do that. People aren't always willing to go there with you.
No, not at all, because it usually stimulates crises, and people want to go back to something that they hold, because life is not stable.
That's deep.
Life is not sure. We don't know what we are or where we are.
Yeah,
we have no fucking idea.
I actually hate certainty. People seem to be so certain about, no, this is how, look, the world works. Jews control it. Or, oh, no, look, guys, look, what are you guys talking about? Didn't you know Jesus made this happen? Shit like that. That certainty is the enemy of knowledge.
It's quite a relief here
The enemy of wisdom.
because everywhere else is Islam's right, Christianity is right, Islam's quite boring.
No, but I disagree. I think
How do you
certainty
enjoy
is,
that last discussion?
I don't know, man. I just feel like personally,
Sorry, I
certainty
didn't
is a good
mean
thing.
to be rude.
I guess I'm only saying that
I'm
because
really-
you feel comfortable.
Right.
You understand? That's
well,
the only reason,
well,
right?
comfort it can have obviously value, right?
Yeah, exactly. It has value, and I don't know. It brings benefit, security. Certainty brings security,
get on with the
and that
day.
brings peace of mind. And I'm someone who, I don't know. We all strive for peace, and I like to think we all strive for peace. So for me, I disagree with what you're saying. I think certainty brings security. Security brings peace.
Yeah.
But
And
here's something-
That's why I get it.
That's why it's comfortable.
But is it possible?
Uncertainty
It tends to. Ignorance is
doesn't.
bliss, man.
Is it possible to make progress on a problem without being uncomfortable? You know what I mean? If you have a problem in your life, in the world, within philosophy, anything, I don't think you can make progress on that unless you step forward into the unknown. Okay. You step forward into where you're unsure, you're uncertain. Right?
For example, Muslims have got healthier breeding in society because they believe a certain thing, they unite, and everyone's always a great replacement. What that guy was shooting about yesterday.
What guy was talking about?
The guy who shot all those.
that mass shooting.
All those, all those Hispanic people yesterday, and people. The guy who shot in the mosque in New Zealand as well. And he's saying, look, these people have got healthy societies. They're breeding because they believe in breeding. They have a certain certainty, and the rest of us is all running around confused and not breathing and have got nothing to live for or nothing certain, and so we're all going to die out and they're going to take over. That's what they believe, isn't it?
Well, some people might think that.
You can see that they have got a certainty which breeds more of them.
That could be part of it. Yeah, there's definitely part of that. But one point I was trying to get to is this one. Is that, for example, take the problem of evil, the philosophical problem of malevolence, like why we exist here, and we seem to have a part of us has a drive that wants to make things worse. You ask people, they're like, oh no, people always want peace. People don't want to be violent. People want to be. No, they fucking don't. No, they don't. The easiest drive we have is towards destruction. The most fundamental, deep, maybe not the most fundamental, but one of the deepest drives we have is towards destruction, towards hatred, and towards. That's
why
what
do you
it
say
is.
that? Why do you say that? Why do you say that?
Well, war is for
Well, there's
technology.
two reasons. There's two reasons. One is that it seems to me, from my personal experiences in the world and from reading history, it seems that people who are willing to use violence to achieve a goal are far more successful in it than people want to cooperate and be peaceful.
Okay.
It's a far easier action. It doesn't require you to communicate, cooperate, understand about. It's just bang, got you. You know, when you destroy ancient monuments, you know, to build a beautiful ancient statue, it takes artistry, craftsmanship. To destroy it takes nothing. You see what I mean? And I'm asking the deeper question. Why is it easier to destroy than create? And that's a fundamental question. It doesn't seem balanced.
Have you found any answers?
Well, no. It's one of the most fundamental questions. I can
Because
think
like
of.
war has pushed
No, but
technology.
humans are doing it. It's not just an aspect of physics.
Well, no, but we're also an aspect.
Oh, well, we could go reductionist, and then we can say we know nothing and there's no conversation.
I think I have a.
But I'm not saying you're wrong, but yeah.
Now, I think I have a perspective on this. I think maybe because of the prevalence of it, it's very prevalent. And so to speak out against it, to speak out against evil or injustice requires a lot of courage.
It does.
And people don't have that.
Right.
I don't know. People do. I'm not generalizing,
Yeah.
but
Well.
I don't think like many people do.
Well, how it usually happens is incrementally. As I've said a number of times to other people, I'm reading the Gulag Archipelago. Really, really, really good book. Read it. It's terrifying. Tyranny happens slowly. It's like, well, that guy's getting bullied because he looks differently, but I'm going to do nothing because it's not so serious and it doesn't really affect me. And it progresses until you have a hell on earth, man. Read that book and then weep, man. It's rough.
You started with the kind of saying there's an appetite for destruction. But I think that within all that destruction, they're actually believing something that is about building. They happen to use destruction as a
Creative destruction.
way, but their
ISIS, they believe in
their principle is that they're doing something good, even however bad that is.
That is possible to have a state of mind that makes you think that doing terrible evil is actually good. It is possible, but you also get active malevolence where people want to destroy and embrace the destruction. I'm not sure if they are.
Only punks.
I'm not sure if they're thinking this is for the greater good at the time. Like you have people that torture children, for example. What good are they creating? I don't want to know their mind, but maybe the answer is within.
In terms of destruction, isn't it just easier and it feels good to feel like you're succeeding in something? If I'm trying to destroy a building and I do it, at least I succeeded.
You clearly produce an effect.
Yeah, you've got an effect, you feel like a winner.
Destroy that ideology. I don't think they do.
Destroy all of that for
I don't think there's a lot of people destroy that ideology.
But ideology could be just yours, your personal way of looking at the world. It
People,
doesn't need to be
but you're
external.
saying that people just destroy, but they don't. They destroy with an ideology, don't they?
But it could be.
Negativity is an ideology. People cuss each other much more than they big each other out.
I mean,
Nihilists.
Like,
I don't want to call everything an ideology. Then we start to forget about what ideology is.
Maybe an attitude is better.
Something.
yeah, I think like just going. About the destruction thing, right? I can give an example, like in geopolitics, what's happening in Syria, Bashar al-Assad, when he's torturing all his own civilians and stuff like that, he's doing destruction. I just gave an example.
He's doing something, okay, well, Willie go there.
nearly everyone. I think there are psychopaths and social people that may be exceptional. we just don't know what's going on. But nearly everyone who destroys will say it's for the greater good.
Yeah, I think
Could they be deluding themselves? Could they be saying that to justify what they know deep? It seems to me that more likely.
You've got Christians here in Speaker's Corner who will say, be totally anti-abortion, and they will say that there's absolutely no reason to kill children. It's totally unacceptable under any conditions.
Right.
At the same time, they agree with the
Yeah, I know.
War, okay. And possibly capital
to
punishment.
defend the realm or whatever. So
Right, it's situational. Yeah.
It's very complicated, but I think that genuinely, everyone, including myself, we all believe things, and we're always wrong. We're limited by the scope of our understanding and perception and belief in context.
It's true, that.
And every belief that causes stress isn't true. And I think the antidote to the uncertainty is not trying to find more certainty, which causes more anxiety, but actually accepting the uncertainty and saying,
It can be, but people can have a different reaction to that, is what I'm going to get to. Here's an answer for you. When we talk about the destruction that I've said, and the things that you've seen and you will know, especially if you look at history, is that one motivation towards this destructive drive is a resentment against living. It's a resentment, it's deeper than you think, man. Like that, man. A resentment against existence, because when you realize that you're here and you become aware of being aware and you can't switch it off, and you know you're probably you're going to die, and you know that there's suffering involved here, you might think, well, holy fuck, I don't like this. I didn't choose to come here. I don't really know where I am. I'm going to suffer. I have suffered. Someone driving me wants to hurt people. I don't like this. I don't want to exist. And it's a massive reason for suicide. People come to that conclusion and they're like, well, life is not worth living. And then the real question is, what does make life worth living? And that's the deeper question. Even against the suffering, against the malevolence, against the evil that you want to do. You know what I mean? Because everybody does it. Everybody has those feelings. So you're not human, man.
If you've got an easy answer to the question, what is the purpose for life, e.g. worship God, then you don't waste time, although I don't think it is a waste of time, pondering all these questions, and you just get on with it and you're probably happier. Whether that's true or not, we don't know, but it generally is true. It's a program for life, isn't it?
It's an interesting point.
it's a helpful vehicle to get through life.
So another point on that is happiness the goal? Is happiness is that the ultimate of what we're capable of? Should that be our penultimate drive? Should it be, well, just be ignorant and happy? I think no, because we have the capacity to do something better than that. I'm judging it to be better.
You'd have to be happy in order to do what you need to do.
The people you said,
People can't operate when they're not. Remember, I mean, look, you say we're all human. Don't underestimate the detrimental effects of depression, unhappiness.
No, I'm not.
That's the thing. So we have to be happy. If you do want to change things. Yeah, all right. You just said something just before that, though. Remember the last thing you said?
I'm not exactly sure. I was trying to say
You
that
said instead of being happy and ignorant.
we've got a capacity for something greater.
Right. Okay. Good. Now, if you want to search or try to aim for that greatness, you can't do it unhappy.
Yes, you can.
But
Suffering is the way, man.
what about being outraged?
No, for real.
Okay, no, that's kind of deep. I've never ever heard anyone say that. That's a true. He's a professional masochist. But that's all right. Maybe you have a point. Maybe you're right. But as far as I can see, people can't operate very well when they're not happy. They tend to be extreme.
I think it's a minority goal.
It's suffering and
I think it's a minority goal that I'm talking about. I think it's not
So
something.
you're saying some can.
I think some people are maybe more capable of pursuing a different path.
Through suffering.
Well, my idea is that when you go through hard times,
Yes.
if you generally grow.
Yeah.
If you survive it, if you overcome, you grow from it. You should be able to look at times in your own life and experiences you've had and see what you might have understood from that afterwards.
Keyword should.
Of course, it can destroy you as well.
And I think it does for a lot of people.
You're saying kind of growth, striving, achievement. There's also paradise after death, enlightenment. What other goals that you're talking about? You've got stuck with something better, something greater. Actually, that's one concept to strive for more. But there's also about acceptance and the moment. So that's an alternative. So when you were outlining those kind of goals, what are the goals that you were thinking are valid?
Right, so
You could go the other way.
goals that I would,
I'm just using
for,
that as an
it's only for me, I'm not wanting to
no,
put it on
no,
others, because I'm acknowledging what he's saying,
But either
because
way, as some
maybe people want to be peaceful and happy and live a life without any of this contemplation, and maybe that's good for them. That's not something I want to change.
Right.
And some people do, they're like, no, you should never believe anything, it should only be hard rationalist atheism. It's like, no, why would you do that? I'm not for that, but I don't know how I can answer your question so well, is that for me, because I think that some people have the capacity for, I don't know how to say it, man, self-actualization. Like picking a goal, working hard to achieve it, picking another goal, working hard to achieve it, and that process there, it gives your life a feeling of meaning. It gives you, because you're going through hardship and you're overcoming, and that for some people is maybe the only appropriate way of living. Maybe they can't accept religion. Like they always question it. It's like,
I'm not. If you're not haven't encapsulated, that's fine. But is it impossible to answer what your if some people would say that their goal is to submit to God, to accept themselves as humans, and to get to paradise and punch up inshallah.
Yeah, right.
So that's an encapsulation. Do you have anything like that? Not to do with God or
it's not going to be as easy. It's not
humanistic.
I understand. It's not going to be as easy to sum up as that, but it would be to try and eliminate as many negative facts. Oh, God, I can't speak today. Try and eliminate as much negative things about my character as possible.
Why?
Well, because that's the goal that I choose.
Negative.
Because I view it.
Makes you more healthy.
No, because some things I do or say, part of my mind says, you don't believe that, or you don't think that, or why are you saying that? Part of my brain tells me, you're a fucking dickhead, to myself.
To be in line with your conscience.
Seriously.
Is that what you're
Right,
saying?
yeah. To follow your conscience.
To be in line with your
Yeah, for real.
Have you ever had a nervous breakdown?
No. Why? I've had
I'm just asking because some people through the process of nervous breakdown they've got something which is like you have in your something which they believe which doesn't fit.
Everybody has it,
and they
they just
don't
ignore it.
see it. And then they have a nervous breakdown, and then they manage to put things back together.
Oh yeah,
That's
that was what I was.
That's what I was asking you. That
I can answer that a wee bit more. That was what I was saying about suffering and growing from it. No, I've had some really tough experiences for sure.
yeah.
I had a lot of spiritual experiences, you could say. I've had a couple of near-death experiences.
Yeah.
People tried to kill me a few times. I've done some really crazy cool shit, and that has changed my mind for sure. It allowed me to think in ways I never thought possible. And last year I had a near-death experience in the hospital, and afterwards I had a crazy DMT trip, natural one through the brain, and saw all sorts of crazy visions. And after that I had this intense feeling of peace, man. It was great. And I started writing. I started writing down all the things, all my adventures.
So some crisis did motivate you.
Well, you could call it a crisis, or you could call it something. I mean, I took the good from it. It was an amazing, beautiful thing, man.
Made you happy from the sounds of it.
For about 2 weeks, it gave me incredible peace. After that, I started being able to think more.
So the difficulty of being in that state of wanting to strive for characterological perfection that's in line with your conscience is that it can become very self-critical, self-flagellating. You're always kind of not good enough. So do you have a vehicle, a model, or a method to help you with that doesn't just leave you just, hating yourself?
That's interesting. The answer's not going to be so profound because I haven't found myself in a state of mind of self-hating. I've never found myself in that thing. I feel like we all have an ideal in our minds of what we could be. I think because, for example, when you do something and you feel bad about it, or if you fail an objective and you feel ashamed or bad, you're comparing yourself to an ideal. But you're creating that ideal. You're creating that model of perfection, that model of purity or beauty.
Have you never had any addictions or anything? You never had addictions
to sugar?
You never had addictions to drugs?
No.
Speaker's corner.
No.
Have you got a method?
Nothing that I could outline to you is clearly at this moment. No, but maybe in the future. I haven't thought about that. So that's why I come
You've
up
been
for
outlining
that.
a method for the last. You've been outlining a method for the last half hour. You've been outlining a method.
Oh, I suppose I haven't formulated it.
Yeah, but it is all outlining a method. What you've been doing.
All right.
It definitely comes across like that.
Because
What you have said is a sense of inquiry onto your beliefs and the fundamentals
That's the method. Methodology.
I see.
and the conflicts that they cause in you.
Yeah. Okay, well there we go. I mean, this is why I come here, to be asked those good questions.
Yes.
Because I wasn't thinking like that. I was just speaking. But that's good. I think maybe I need to think about it a bit more.
But for many people, religion is that method.
Yes.
It is.
By default.
I would say that I would say that it's possible. For some people, maybe it's the right move. But maybe I think the fact that, from what I see from a lot of religion, is it tries to force people down a line. It doesn't give them so much the option of going away from it, and I don't support that.
But it's kind of enlightenment versus enlightening yourself. Knowing what yourself is and being your true self in line with the conscious self is kind of enlightenment type of knowledge.
Yeah.
Versus belief in the exterior of God outside of ourselves.
Yeah.
To be worshipped.
Yeah, an external reality. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't know. What about you guys? What do you think about what he's saying? Because I got my view. You kind of said it.
I wanted to pick up on a point actually before when he mentioned something about when you said ideals and something else, right? Like, I was going to ask, how can you really escape these ideals?
What do you mean?
Because when he was talking about, I'm sorry, I don't know your name, but when he was talking about self-hatred and criticism and you responded to that by saying that you can only arrive if you generate these ideals, right? But I'm asking, well, can you really escape these ideals with the amount of pressure?
Why would you want to? Why would you want to?
No, I guess perhaps because just going from what you were saying earlier. Why would you want to? Because of the fact, well, if your purpose is to constantly strive for goals, and basically be critical, extremely critical if you don't reach those goals, and maybe that can manifest into self-hatred. Your response was, the ideals. So that can only be great if there's ideals, right? But why would you want to? Is because why would you want to escape these ideals? Is because of the self-hatred.
Okay, I see.
Self-hatred that comes with.
I understand. Let me give you a possible justification why I think that is a better model than an alternative. Because you see something that happens, you see something that is, I would say, directly related to all these shootings that we see. When you see these mass shootings, like what you want to do if you have the time and if you have the stomach is read about what those guys actually say. And some of them are going to be like, they're going to go the radical right-wing view or something like this. But look deeper. They're looking for structure. They're looking for meaning. They're looking for something to hold on to. I'm not justifying anyone's actions. I'm trying to say, look at the motivations. It's not superficial, man. It's deep. So what I'm saying about changing yourself, criticizing yourself, comparing yourself to, man, you should compare yourself only to yourself, like to your own ideal. It's because if you don't do that, what do? You project it to the outside world. You say, I'm angry, I'm not happy with this, and it's everybody else's fault. Right? Man, just read about the Soviet Union. Read about these guys wrecking our perfect society. We've got to put them into prison. These guys,
they were though.
It's hard to say.
Have you read the Gulag Archipelago? Get on that shit, man.
Yeah, no, I've heard
It's the most terrible, nightmarish reality.
Though, weren't they? I mean,
it's hard to say.
The Roman dynasty and that lot, and the British royalty, they were wrecking everybody for the sake of their own enrichment.
Well,
the whole of look at Belgium. The whole of all these big buildings like this around Belgium, they're all built with dead people from the Congo. All of them. Every single one was built with killing people from the Congo, getting people to enslave other people. The whole of Congo belonged to the Belgian royal family himself.
I'm gonna
Belgium, the guy himself, didn't it?
I'm going to keep going away from politics because this doesn't work for me. I'm going to go why?
Politics in case people were fighting.
Because I understand. I agree.
People fight for real reasons. They were joining into groups and fighting for real reasons.
I'm saying that if you're not judging yourself, you're judging others, and if you judge others, you kill others.
No, I don't think that. I think that's what you said, but I don't think that has to be the only way.
I think that's how it always works.
Revolutions happen for reasons, don't they?
They do, for sure.
Yeah, I think that's the point.
Of course they do.
You're right.
It's not just individuals.
That is always the case. However, certain people are afflicted by this more than others, and that then is a political or social reason.
It's a luxury to think the way we do.
all you
in
got?
this world, it's a luxury to
No, but you have to
think.
admit, I mean, you can't entirely not ignore culture.
I'm not ignoring it. I'm not.
You said, no, it doesn't work for me.
No, I'm saying because you can only control yourself, you should be focused on your own actions.
Should be, I get with the should be again.
I'm not angry.
Man, no.
Because
Like,
the fact that there is a particular group type of political leaning in America who are committing the acts of mass shooting, that it makes it a socio-political issue. Now you're right, the underlying thing might be common to all, but there's a political conduit through which these people are going down and then committing these things.
and where would the resolution lie? Would the resolution lie on the surface or at the core? Resolution's at the core.
No, I don't agree at all. Because if you're willing, I personally believe everything, there's traffic between everything. Human foundations do not act in a vacuum away from everything else that's occurring. You get me? We're in a complex mixture of nature and nurture. There's no doubt about it. So politics is a thing.
I'm sure. I know it is. I know it is.
In the world, we are in a luxury situation of even thinking. There's something new from most people.
Yes.
So if you're in the Congo mining for 90 a day, you haven't got much opportunity to think like this.
That's
And
right.
that makes it a political issue as well.
I would say it makes
Power
a moral.
imbalance.
I would say it makes a moral issue to use our luxury to answer these questions.
Yeah, I agree with
But I would state again that looking within yourself before you look on the outside world. That's it. That's the core of what I'm saying probably.
So you're not looking at yourself, you're looking at
Depends how oppressed you are.
Everybody's oppressed.
sounds-
man.
No, but people are seriously
I
oppressed.
hope you're not dogmatic about that. Because
Bro,
religiously oppressed.
the only way that line goes is towards genocide, man. Only way it goes.
People who are oppressed for 9p a day mining in the Congo.
I'm sure. I
I
know.
like if they were able to raise the groups and fight the oppressors, then and that's all going to your laptop, it's all going to your mobile phone. You know what I mean? They have to form into groups. So what fight?
it's a hard thing to come to.
All the luxury of
Is this guilt? Why you don't want to look at it?
Can you explain?
So you're talking about these deep underlying drives which determine our actions. Could guilt be the reason you not look at the 9p a day?
Yeah, look at revolution.
You'd rather, I mean, I don't know. Yeah.
If anyone's guilty of anything, it's of their own actions, right?
Yeah. But you might be driven by things which you can't fully control. I mean, that's not outside of the realm of possibility.
Right. And here's a counterpoint for you. Could the drive for revolution, the drive to help the oppressed, be from resentment and hatred?
Or guilt?
Why not?
Social media and us.
Yeah, why
I think
not?
that is
Because I mean, there's a reason why people would
so they
say,
shouldn't do it. They
9
should
p
carry on
9p a
mining
day,
9p a day.
it shouldn't matter.
So obviously I'm not saying that, bro.
See what I mean? But
I'm obviously not saying that.
What he's saying to you, and what I'm saying to you as well, I think, is that you've got to realise the political as well as the personal. Like, especially the majority of society, we're lucky to even be able to be in this.
What do you think?
What is politics? Politics is a series of ideas. Who makes ideas? Humans.
I wouldn't go too far. Okay, right. But that's a terribly simplistic way of looking at the world.
I don't think so.
No, it is. No, but objectively, I know you don't like objectivity, but that's objectively because the world's far more complex than that.
Very complex.
And the answers aren't always, this is the reason this has happened is because humans are like this. I mean, it's
No,
never.
I didn't say that. What I'm trying to say is
sounds like you're going
if
along
you
with
look
that.
at politics,
Yes.
the reason why I'm not so interested in political views and political groups and political movements is because they come from people.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying.
Sure.
They don't exist in isolation from humanity. They are a product of humanity.
Sure.
So I would rather
everything.
I'd rather go to the producer of the idea.
Right. The producer of the idea is humanity
Right.
itself as
So
well.
that's more interesting
it's all right.
Right? That makes
More
that makes
interesting.
sense.
Fine.
Yeah.
Not necessarily more accurate, more true, more telling.
Oh yes, more important.
Well, no, that's an individual conclusion based on what you think is more important.
Sure.
He's trying to say, bro, but these all got 9p a day.
And there is
So that's his
compromise.
importance. And
There's a conference
you can't suddenly say, oh, look, man, forget about that. What about that? That's more important. Well, these lot certainly wouldn't agree. And there's a reason for that.
There's conference who are responsible.
We're just trying to say that it has an actual concrete effect on people's lives. I'm not saying prioritize one or the other. I'm with this. Well, you have to look at the human rights priority. But it's both. It's a complex mixture of both.
It's also your locus of control. Right. Actually, you could be, have a hard time thinking about all the wrongs in the world, have no control over it. So there is a kind of locus of control. If you're worried about something happening to us, if you can do something, do it. If you can't, the worry's not going to help.
And that's what you're...
That's a good point. It's partially that. It's a Stoic idea.
It's realism. And it's what you can realistically do as an individual.
You're familiar with the Stoic philosophy?
Somewhat, yeah.
So it's kind of like what he's saying.
It's cynical stoicism.
It doesn't need to be cynicism. Cynicism is a different school of philosophy.
It might be, but...
It is. I mean, they might be similar, but they are two distinct schools of philosophy.
Right.
The Stoic view is about what you can control. You should be concerned about primarily your own actions that you can control.
Anyone could rationalize that to say anything about anything.
I don't understand that as an objection. I'm just trying to say the philosophy of
but you can see how it's flexible. It's not one thing then. Stoicism could be, look, this guy...
What is Stoicism? Let's define it.
Okay, so it's, for example, like... It's an acknowledgement of the unfairness of reality, right? One of the lead philosophers of Stoicism was a guy called Epictetus. I don't know how to pronounce it. Epicurus. Is it Epicurus?
No.
Epictetus. And he was a guy who was born as a slave, and he had a crippled leg, so he had a very unbalanced, you could say, a very unfair start. And this guy worked and earned his freedom, and he became a very renowned philosopher. We're talking about 6,000 years in the future? That's a fucking miracle, right? So, and this guy was saying, you should be primarily concerned with the things that are within your control, which is primarily the way that you think. Because I know it's cliche these days, but it's true. If something bad happens to you, you can choose to look at it from a different angle and try to take some good from it. And it's very hard, but it's a method of maintaining your sanity in really hard environments, right? Now, another thing to say about that is Nelson Mandela. When he was in prison, he was coming with certain Stoic ideas. There was if you've seen the film Invictus, it illustrates this because there's a poem called Invictus, and I don't remember it at all, but the quote of it is that he says, you're the master of your fate, the captain of your soul. People can take away your liberty, people can torture you, people can hurt you, people can take away your property or your family, but you're still in control of your soul. It means the way you look at the world, what you hold to be valuable, is yours alone. You can control that. Nobody can take that from you.
Right.
And that's Stoicism as far as I can say.
I'm not sure about the belief that reality is unfair, and I guess a Taoism would be that reality is reality, and when we argue with reality, that's when we are suffering. Actually, we could, if we don't argue with reality and have a kind of this integrious response to it, actually, that's the way.
Right.
I like, for example, I like Jordan Peterson because he's talking very much about what you can control and making things better. I don't like the way he accepts this as the way it is. Like that, I have a bit.
I'm not sure he does. I understand what you're saying, but from what I know, have you read his book?
No, I didn't. I just watched lots of him on YouTube.
Me too. Have any of you read it, 12 Rules for Life?
No.
It's a good book. I recommend it. It doesn't answer, but it gives solutions, some potential solutions to the questions you've been talking about.
Yeah, he talks about hard reality.
He talks about try imagine the highest possible good and try and manifest that in reality. That's what he says, and maybe that's a small thing.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Maybe it's all you can do.
I appreciate what he said, but then in some ways I've seen him more accepting of things, injustice. It's just like, no, I think people should unite and fight against injustice. They should, and they have to unite and fight against injustice because it's usually a very, very small people who are causing that bloody injustice and paying forces to like police forces or whatever.
Look, I understand the drive.
Can I take that and go somewhere else?
Yeah,
can you see then how Stoicism might appeal to the Westerner? To the person who apparently has a greater moral weight and a greater objective ability to maneuver and change things. why wouldn't they choose stoicism? They enjoy a very comfortable life compared to 9p a day. Why not choose cynicism and say, you know what, I can't help them guys, bro. I'm just gonna chill here, like make my money here. You can see how
Stoicism doesn't say anything about not trying to create justice.
right.
It's not saying
It's about
it's not.
understanding what you can and can't affect.
Pretty much.
That's what I mean. Why isn't that you can see the drive in some people to not deal with trauma or trouble or more work, basically? Why wouldn't Westerners start to push this idea of stoicism constantly?
Well, I mean, unfortunately, you're using loaded terminology for some reason with the Westerners. Is that necessary? You're trying to make a secondary point underneath your argument.
Am I?
It seems so. Otherwise, you would probably I would argue you should just say Stoics.
Why should the rich care?
Somewhat, but no. But he also said us in these countries have a greater moral weight to change things. So
No, I said because
sorry.
we have more liberties and freedom within the society that we have freedom and time to think about these ideas and mobilise and be activists and such. Therefore, we have a moral obligation to do something about it because we're in privileged positions.
that's it.
There.
Now, I'm with that. However, this means effort, means less pleasure. In a society where pleasure and hedonism is the goal for most people, you know what I'm saying?
And
why wouldn't they?
Hedonism is nothing like Stoicism, my friend.
I never said it was. But
I'll give you a book.
Hold on. Hear me out. Now, if hedonism and pleasure is the greatest goal, and it's only arm's length away, you enjoy your whole life through sensual pleasure till the day you die. However, there is this moral weight, and we have so much freedom to change things and develop things. Why wouldn't someone choose stoicism then? To keep their hedonistic life while doing away with the guilt of being free?
You'll be hard pressed to find a Stoic who's a hedonist.
Okay, but can you see?
Very, very hard pressed. So
you
there's two
see-
different things. You should just stick to
That way of
hedonism.
being isn't
At
about.
all, because look, I'm not trying to say they follow the same stoicism as you. They may corrupt it, they may use it for their own. Look, man, how many times you
That's
met
just
someone,
become
a very well-to-do person in the West? Oh, you know, what are you doing to save the world? Oh, well, there's not much I can do. Now, I'm not saying that's you. They might have come to this, look, I'm going to enjoy my comforts, my creature comforts, my pleasures, help my family. I can't do much to help anyone else. Now, they could. We both know they could. If we all in the West dedicated our lives to changing things, we would change the fucking world. We don't. We choose a simple, more comfortable life. So that's my point.
But this is about
Stoicism and hedonism might not be compatible. However, people might use it to justify the other.
I don't think people are that intelligent.
They don't even have to know it. They don't even have to know it.
Actually,
It might just be a coping mechanism for their guilt.
anyone can manipulate any concept and use it the way they want it anyway, so it doesn't make any difference really. That could
Maybe
happen.
so. Maybe so.
In fact, lots of people live like that.
But you can't. Can I just say one thing, because I don't want to be taken out of context? People who may suffer from a guilt, which is imposed upon them from their greater freedoms, won't choose any philosophy to do away with that guilt. Only some philosophies might help for them to suppress or cope with the guilt. Now, if you're like Young, again, you should know that we all operate off coping mechanisms. Guilt is one of the strongest drives, and we don't want it. We want to suppress that shit. And so if someone gets thrown Christianity, Islam, Stoicism, they might use that to suppress the guilt. Now, humanism might not suppress that guilt. Humanism might make them look at the guilt. You see what I'm saying? So not all, it's not that for everyone.
But I guess the other issue is what ultimately makes the difference as well to that individual. Their kind of development depends what their goal is, and also their surroundings and their slightly greater surroundings. So
Sure.
it's
Very
kind of
complex.
Empiricist. Empirically, actually, how does that actually work out?
Well, I don't think empiricism has the answer to a lot of these things. These things are so complex, human relations, in an ever increasingly complex society. It's very hard to understand why people do things. I can tell he's hating everything I'm saying. he's just like, I can't take this.
I have an injury in my shoulder blade.
But yeah, I agree.
Anyway, something to say before we move further is that I don't think Stoicism can be grouped within Islam and Christianity. It's not religion. It's a moral philosophy. And from my understanding of it, which is not great, but it's arguably greater than yourself because you need to read some Stoic books, right? Which I recommend because I think you'll find them valuable.
Sure.
It's a way of trying to conduct yourself in the world that is trying to make things better, but being conscious of that, you need to improve yourself first.
I don't deny any of that.
When we talk about making improvements or changes in the world at large, maybe we should focus on your very immediate surroundings, right? As in your relationships between your family, between your friends, between your community, because I don't need to say this country has a lot of problems. Communities have problems. And I think a way of getting out of the responsibility and guilt is to say, oh, but we should help the people over there and ignore my problems here.
It could go
because
that way
you
as well.
depersonalize it. Right. So I would say that.
But that, I mean, all that just that we're both on the same page, because what we're both trying to say is that a number of ideologies and philosophies can be used as in a number of situations where people need to cope with their guilt. Guilt is the one thing people want to avoid. Regret, guilt, and these types of things. People do anything to get away from this. You know what I'm saying?
I'm not sure if people are guilty about the things happening in the world at large.
I think they are.
I don't know. I don't really think so. I think people can be very easily dehumanized towards the actions and justify it mentally to themselves.
Process of guilt.
I'm not sure if it is.
Trust me, the suppression of guilt can, like I'm trying. I know. I don't want to frame it in just a stoic way. I'm not trying to target. I'm trying to say any philosophy can be used to suppress guilt. Well, humans have an amazing way of suppressing things that they don't want to look at.
Yeah, that's right.
Stoicism isn't really about that, and if you don't do the thing, then you're no longer stoic anyway. Stoicism is about not complaining and not having tribulation for the good or the bad, and going alongside the reality.
I agree with that, but by continually redefining stoicism for me isn't going to change what I'm saying.
No, I suppose it seems to me that the discussion of stoicism is really a vehicle for talking about suppression of guilt, which is fine. It's a big issue. It's a big issue about what that means, how it drives us, all those different kind of.
I think it particularly appeals to the West, stoicism, if I'm to be honest.
But
there's nothing. That's the thing. That's not.
I don't think anyone's stoic.
We're very unstoic people.
I mean, if we were to do a study, stoicism is probably more popular in the West than anywhere else.
No, I don't think so.
You don't think so? Where then?
Well, if anything, it would be more.
And besides, you can find elements of stoicism in religion. So,
well,
I mean,
absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to limit ourselves by looking at stoicism proper as a philosophy. I mean, there's tenets and aspects which are shared by everyone. I don't want to.
What would be a guilt?
It's complex.
I don't want to let on I don't know what stoicism is.
A belief that causes guilt.
Well, I think. I don't know. I mean, you wouldn't trade places with someone who's starving.
No, I know, but I'm asking
see what I'm saying?
specifically for the belief. So that is.
Well, I'm trying to.
But
you see what I'm coming at?
yeah, no, but I'd like you to kind of clarify it as a belief.
Well, you wouldn't swap places with someone who's worse off than you.
Yeah, but how is guilt the
No, but
motivation?
putting that as a description of something doesn't help us understand the internal belief that you, me, or anyone have about that.
Well, I don't know what you or anyone else would have.
Yeah, but he's asking how is guilt a motivation? Is that
Right.
what you're saying? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I'm going to stick with the example I gave. You wouldn't swap places with someone who's worse off than you. Okay, I'll expand it.
One way.
You know people in the world have it far worse than you. We're no strangers to tragedy. In fact, we hear about famine, war, tragedy so much, I think we've developed a bit of a famine fatigue. You've heard about it so much, it don't matter anymore. Now,
you're also separated from the reality of it.
Yes,
if you're not
by not
immediately
being there.
Yeah, it's hard to abstractly relate.
That's why I'm trying to get to it. That's where I'm trying to get. Yeah, you know that you don't really. It's like if we're going into the human basics of how we even cognitively process these things. But when you're first made aware of the fact that you have a much better life than someone else, you have to some way rationalize that to yourself. You're not willing to trade places. Oh, look, I feel so sorry for you guys. I tell you what, I'm going to live like that. You live. No one does that.
Is it possible you deserve it?
Say that again.
Is it possible you deserve it?
That's always a possibility.
It's a Hindu.
Just a
Do you see where I'm coming at?
It's a Hindu philosophy.
I mean,
You don't see the way the guilt is in that process?
Well, I mean, I think
You
that
know, by
order-
you knowing that you live better, there is
I
an
feel
element
bad
of guilt.
because I've got more. Is that the thought. Yeah, I mean, I think we can understand what guilt is, but I suppose it's trying to reduce it to a manageable thing. Some people will put themselves in the place of others, but it's also, you know, for instance, you could feel so guilty. Okay, I'll just give everything away, right? And then actually you end up then being the vulnerable person.
I don't know who ever does
this.
I've heard of it happening.
But let's be honest, one has to hear of it happening. That's how minor it is.
Well,
Buddha
sure.
Buddha, when he grew up, he was protected by his father from all the bad things. And then it was only later that he went out in the world and saw, oh, who's this? Why have they got wrinkly faces? Even old people were protected from it.
That's right.
So the ill, so actually, from that particular dynamic, he didn't come to. He came to the pillars of Buddhism, really. So and a way of enlightenment, and that is effectively a middle way that involves charity, but also this issue about your mind and otherwise. It's not as simple. I think our mind can run away with itself, whatever it is. It's good, bad, whatever.
I agree.
It'll just go mad on it.
100%.
So
That's what I'm saying. It's so complex. It can go any number of ways.
Particularly here.
Someone raised by Buddha could come up with an even more conservative
Conversations
ideology.
happening here are not worth the air that's put out.
Well, I'm saying it's bad.
I would say.
Mind going
I think
mad.
this is the most interesting conversation I've had in here for a long, long time.
Well,
Nice to talk to you guys.
It's dominated by faith-based discussions.
Yeah, it's get boring, doesn't it?
Everybody
Yeah,
needs the faith, isn't it? The belief in something.
Well, that's what I'm trying to avoid.
yeah.
If one takes on Stoicism like one takes on Catholicism,
It's not a faith.
I'm not. But he just, you hear what he said?
no, but I
But
think
some people take it on as faith, don't they?
okay, but let's
Same as
ask.
atheism, people take it on as faith.
Let's ask a deeper question. Here we go. Because it will get down to the aspect of maybe we all run on faith, or run on
To some extent,
making a leap of faith to say that something is more valuable than another without having an external objective reality to confirm it. Right? Is this, you say, like, for example, we feel guilty if somebody has a better life than us or something, or we should, well, who knows, right? And you should have an obligation to help them, right? For example, or if there's a famine somewhere, should we have an obligation to help those people? Now, the simple question is, why? Why should you help somebody else? Anybody else? Let's see if we can get an answer to that. Why should we help anybody ever?
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, this is it. That's what I mentioned earlier. Ask yourself.
But no one has the answer.
I think I have an answer.
Getting to the core is the wisdom.
Yeah, but
I have an answer.
anyone would claim any. Sorry, my bad.
What's your answer?
No, I think why is there an obligation to help someone else? I think maybe in this world where, from my mind at least, from my mind at least anyway, there's a lot of judgment. So I feel like there's judgment if you don't do this, if you don't do this kind of action, you don't do that kind of action, you don't do that. So to escape that judgment and to empower yourself by reducing those judgments, it's okay, I'm going to help someone else. That feeds into a self-acceptance and a feeling of goodness. So that if people try to label you, you're bad, it's like whatever, your judgments are meaningless. So that's for me. That's an answer to like why.
It's a social conditioning. You've had millions of years, at least hundreds of thousands of years of the social creatures who survived through social organisations.
Or is it evolutionary forces?
Well, that's the same, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like live aid, isn't it?
So social or evolution is all the
That's
same.
why I said we don't know, because it doesn't.
But we're all.
It's very hard to
but
pin down.
evolutionaries, the people who have survived are those who are social animals. Yeah? That's right. And there are, and so there is an inbuilt kind of genetic and social conditioning.
Come on.
Wait. But there are also people who are antisocial and social personality disorders. Yeah? They have got genetic different ways of surviving. Now, also, those individuals are also helpful or have been helpful in the social world because they will be the warriors. They will protect. They will kill. They will kill for you because you won't kill.
Right.
But you want them to be killed because you don't want to be raped and killed yourself. Yeah? So this is, we are in this moment we're on the shoulders of all the society before us, and we're conditioned by that in every way.
But I mean, look, no offence. Yeah.
I take it that there may be some offence coming, but do you know what? I won't take offence.
It won't be offensive.
I won't be offensive.
But I say this because you might perceive it as I'm targeting you. But I think anyone who tries to come up with why humans do something through evolutionary psychology have got an uphill battle. I mean, because
Really?
100%.
It's like evolutionary based. I mean, evidence based.
No, you're quite wrong actually.
Okay.
Evolutionary psychology is not based on hardly any evidence, in fact.
Oh, psychology.
That's what we're talking about.
Well, where else does it come from then?
Well, evolutionary.
For physicality is evolution,
Oh,
for psychology is it?
No, I mean, look, if you look at the basis of evolution, it's a biological thing. I'm with the evolutionary biology field. Psychology, it gets taken out of context so much to explain why people go to the cinema. I mean, if you hear the way that psychology is, monkeys act like this. That's why we kiss. I mean, bro. I mean, let's not be too. Let's not. If we were talking about being careful about where things come from, I think it's an uphill battle, bro.
I disagree.
I'll tell you why. So you made points about how the social ones of the social humans are the ones that eventually evolved and stuff like that.
No, I survived.
Survived and went on to evolve, whatever you want to call it. I mean, look, we did evolve, right?
Well,
I'm not saying we didn't.
I'm not saying in the last 200,000 years
You said millions, I know.
Yeah.
I know.
But in the last 200,000
And that's what makes it even harder to
in the last
prove.
200,000 years.
200,000.
Around the
Right.
social aspect.
So
It's not quite evolution.
Well, in any case, I mean, being social was a thing in our species for very long in any case, right? So what I'm trying to say is that if you can find something in our evolutionary history, some sort of behavior or characteristic, and then to extrapolate that to some sort of modern guilt about people in the third world who you've never met, that's a big leap in my opinion.
That's fairly clear cut in my mind.
No, I think
I can illustrate it for you.
Sure, go.
All right, cool.
See how clear cut this is.
I will try it.
Better for you to refute it, really, in what would be the alternative.
No, that's a
was
straw
gonna
man,
be
and
easy
you
for
know it.
It's not straw man. It's asking you to justify your point.
A straw man is me saying...
It's a straw man.
It's not straw man.
I'll tell you why it's a straw man. Okay, maybe it's not quite. What is it then?
He's just
If
asking
someone
you to
tells me
present
because
your-
I can't present an alternative, his is by default correct.
No, it's not that.
So then why do you need an
You're saying
alternative?
It's an uphill struggle to argue evolutionary psychology.
Yes.
What I'm asking you is, what is the alternative?
Well, why would you ask me that?
Because you've made a decision.
Because you don't have an alternative, you've decided that evolution.
I do have
Then
an
why
alternative.
ask?
Because I thought that you might have an alternative.
I don't.
Okay.
So you know why? Because there's some
So the answer
mysteries
is,
of
I
life.
don't have
like-
it, it's a mystery. It's fine.
Yeah.
But I didn't know you were going to
Because
say that.
I know, well, fine. But a lot of people ask for an alternative because they think by default theirs is the truth because there's no better alternative.
No, I
mean,
genuinely thought
look,
that you had-
evolutionary psychology is by no means reliable, especially for these things. He said he's going to make it clear cut.
I can give you a potential suggestion that seems to be reductive, right? Is like this. So you understand reciprocal altruism, right? Is, for example, if somebody does you a favour, you feel the compulsion to give them a favour back. Now this, interestingly, this actually exists in other creatures on Earth. For example, blood bats. Bats that take blood from mammals. When one of them doesn't get enough blood during a night's feast, they can ask one of their neighbours to give them a blood meal. And it's disgusting, right? They vomit the blood into the other bat's mouth, right? And this is reciprocal altruism because they remember who did them the favour and they'll get them back in a previous time. This is probably the basis of human society. It's reciprocal.
That's the biggest statement I've ever heard.
I think it's incredibly self-evident.
You said clear cut. I'm waiting. I'm hearing about.
applicable. I do think it's applicable.
Well, I'm not finished, man. You're going to cut me off. But what I would like to see a counter argument to that. Humans display reciprocal altruism all the time.
Sure.
Right. Okay. So we got that.
This is part of the nurturing.
Trade is that, isn't it?
So we've got this.
That's what trade is, isn't it?
Right. Now, the next thing to say is that
necessarily.
we are not individual creatures in that we don't survive individually. In our evolutionary history, we're a social being. We're a social creature. We can be analogous to a pack of wolves or a troop of chimpanzees. This is our evolutionary history. We don't survive alone, at least for the majority of the time, right? Of our history.
Yeah.
So you could then say that the people who have gone on to survive are those who have got a higher capacity for communication, being socialized and working together. To bring down higher prey, you need to work as a group. You communicate. You're part of a tribe. Okay? You're not seeing how this directly answers your question.
No, because you haven't finished.
Right, well, the things I'm saying directly lead up to it. So, he was talking about the evolutionary psychology of, I can't remember the original point. Fuck. What was the original point you were saying that you disputed?
Why we have a social function that helps others. Your question was why would we help others?
Which
right.
came from why we feel guilt.
Oh, there we go. Exactly. So, if you're living in this tribal society, your chance of survival is directly related to the chance of survival of your brother, of the other man in your tribe. It's directly related. If they go down, if they suffer, you're weaker as a tribe.
Yeah.
So you have a instinctive evolutionary obligation that's within us to want to let everybody in your kin group survive.
Gain status.
So where does,
Right, and that's the answer to
That's
your
it.
question.
So where does
As clear cut as
exploitation?
I hope.
Where does exploitation?
I'll tell you. I'll
I'm not
explain.
sure, but what he just...
Not as clear cut as he hoped.
It's not. It's not, because
I could
you
write
can
it out
find
a bit
a
clearer for
number
you.
of human activities in the modern world which go against that.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that it's the
Doesn't
only
mean that-
possible action.
Damn right, that's my whole point.
But it means
it's so
it's the it's the
like I said,
primary drive.
everything is a complex relationship between nature and nurture. You were trying to say, oh no, it's because of this, because we're like, bro, it's not clear cut as you think.
Well, am I saying it's one or the other? No, I'm saying
I'm with you then. Fine, it's one
nurture
part.
is an aspect of human behavior in relation to environment.
Right, and our evolutionary need to be social is one part of it.
It's a huge part.
It's
No,
not,
but you-
it's not an evolution.
You can't even go that far.
It's not a need.
Can you go that far? Like, it wasn't clear cut enough to say it's even a large part. You're telling me historical behaviours which now translate into things that don't even seem like those. That's the leap of faith that you're making.
They don't seem like it. How?
Because I just said there's so many modern day behaviours which are the opposite of that. The complete opposite of that.
Humans adapt. Maybe our environment is different. It causes us to adapt differently. We live in a selfish society.
Maybe so. So it's not as clear cut.
I've got
Well,
another
it
straw
is.
man.
It still
Can you
fits
give
the
me an
theory.
example?
Raising rates of suicide. Raising rates of suicide.
What's that got to do with it?
Drug use, maybe. I don't know. I mean, can you explain these things by this evolutionary need to be social? How many things in the modern world can't you? That's
Can I-
earlier you said don't limit yourself to those examples. Let me bring you to what someone said earlier about if you're going to try to argue a point, think of it the opposite way. Now look, we can all sit here and agree there's so many social things that we do today which definitely could be an offshoot of our evolutionary need to be social. However, if we sat down, there's no doubt we could come to hundreds of things which we do on a mass scale which seem to completely contradict that part of us. So my point is that it's a part, no doubt. But to say it's a large part, I mean, look, it's not that controversial to say it's a large part. But the larger of a part you claim this to be, the more uphill the battle gets. You see what I'm saying?
Well, I think
We don't know why humans do
you're
most
quite
things.
insistent
That's the
about
fact.
the steepness of the hill.
I don't know, man.
You're making a leap of faith.
You waggle your finger a lot, man. It's just rather rude.
You might be annoyed.
You're refusing
might be telling
something.
something.
You're refusing
That's what I'm trying to
something
say.
in a very broad way.
I think you have to.
Without a particular alternative. I never.
There's nothing wrong with
I
that.
never said. I never
wrong
said
with
that it was defined everything or was absolute either.
Good.
But I would never say anything that way.
Sorry.
But it is one factor. So you can,
Agreed.
in essence, you can have a mixture of evolutionary psychology. You can have a mix with spiritual aspects or kind of psychological aspects.
Yeah, infinite amount of factors,
And it's so
possibly.
complex, right? So the answer is
History
we
is a
don't
complex
really know.
place.
We don't really know. But it comes back to his point about reductionism. Is if we only stood here and told us what
Yeah.
we knew,
Yes.
then we might as well
But I'm
just
not
go
going
home.
to that extreme. I'm not going to that extreme.
You are.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm not at
Anyway,
all.
I didn't feel
So,
offended.
do you have a potential alternative?
No.
It's surprising then that your strength of being against it is so strong when you don't have an alternative vision in your mind.
No, I can tell you why it's so strong. Because
Different aspects that play into it.
Social, took him away.
It's coming to save you. He's
So
gone.
profound there. No. We're going to
I'll tell you why.
Tell us.
Now, you earlier, one thing he did really well is he explained this tendency that's so common amongst people. This tendency to, whatever you said earlier, you're going to have to go back in the video.
It was really profound.
You know what, it was too deep to summarize. Now, what I'm about to say isn't related, but I'm with him on another level because I also see a widespread tendency for humans to simplify complex things. My strength and passion towards this is because anyone who studies even a foundational knowledge of history understands how complex it is. And so when people come up with these great carpet theories about, oh, this is because of this, because of religion. This is because of this, because of evolution. This is because of this. No. I'm so against it. I'm always there to try to complexify the understanding of things. And we're talking about potentially the most complex question that anyone's ever asked. Why do humans do the things they do? This is a question that no one's ever been able to answer. And so when someone seems to, no, you haven't answered.
No, I think I've given a very good account, and I'll justify a bit. It's not just my
Wait,
opinion.
let me just
It's
finish
based on observation of the natural world.
I'd just like to remind people that history is very complex. Evolution is there's large gaps in our understanding of history, human behavior. Evolutionary psychology is a field that's changed every year. Before you place your faith in these explanations, you'll be questioning it in 2 years. Just be careful about these things. Give respect to the complexity of human existence.
I'm definitely not saying I agree with you. I'm not saying absolutist.
And I think social constructs doesn't have to just be under a title of evolutionary psychology.
Good.
But social constructs
Some people do think that.
are correlated, obviously. But
So if you want to look at it this way, as a biologist, if you look at the natural world, if you want to understand an organism, right? If you want to understand a creature, you observe it. And you make assumptions, and maybe they're very good assumptions, you make very good observations about how it reacts in its environment, right?
Sure.
And if you can take those principles, everything wants to survive, right? Everything is driven towards survival and reproduction, because that's the principal axioms of the core of biology.
But there's a lot of things that we do that don't correspond with that.
But that's interesting.
Yeah,
That's really
100%.
interesting. And we can talk
Continue,
about that.
sorry.
We can talk about that for sure.
So you can observe animals and...
Right, so I'm trying to say, it's not just speculation, it's not just opinions. People are trying to look at what's happening, look at the environment, and see how things... Obviously, we can't go back in time, but we can look at prehistoric forms, we can talk about intermediate forms.
So we can be more proactive.
Well, it's that you can look at the past, and you can make statements about how something has changed to help it adapt.
I mean, look,
and you do that to us.
all of us will agree on that. I mean, come on.
which you said earlier.
Yeah, as an example.
As an example, is also an example, you can't say for every suicide what that reason is. But one explanation, or potential explanation, is increased isolation.
Sure.
Lack of community,
social.
lack of social.
100%.
So it's isolation, and you're left with your thoughts, your beliefs, your conditions, your guilt or otherwise, and you can't connect. And of course, there are kind of conditions that will increase that level of isolation.
Sure.
Aspects of autism or otherwise, and because there isn't that kind of structure to look after people in a social way, then those people are more likely to be able to have completed suicide.
100%.
That's,
But it remains a theory based on some suicides at the end of the day, right?
All suicides are the same, that's what you're saying.
I did
No way, bro. It's the opposite of what I'm saying. I'm saying we don't know. People kill themselves for all types of reasons, bro.
Depression,
Some people who have great lives commit suicide.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, like that. These are the mysteries of the human psyche, which I don't know, and no one here should claim to know.
Let's take an example.
Do you actually think that people commit
Not in
suicide
large
with
numbers,
great
but I'm saying this. My point is that look, don't blind yourself to the exceptions of human existence. There might be exceptions, but they occur nonetheless. Your theories, which claim to explain human behavior, not yours, but anyone's who claims, will never explain these things. And these things should always indicate different cultures, different beliefs, all these things. I mean, bro, the number of factors as to why a human does what they do is so complex that I just don't like any sort of overarching...
Okay, I got something. Do you agree with this? It's good. Maybe we don't know the exact specifications of every action. Maybe that's going to be a very difficult thing to know, right? But if we're going to pursue knowledge, if we're going to pursue understanding,
don't stop.
You have to start with basic axioms. You have to say, well, people usually drive towards that. These are factors that are most common. It's possibly this. That's how you make statements. Like that's how you discover knowledge. Like you have to work like that.
Do you base your beliefs off that, though?
I don't have beliefs.
Okay, you don't, but many people do. I'm just going again how most people do this. People are. No, I'm with you, bro. Like, as an individual, you might have it on smash, but my argument is more against the tendency as opposed to you as a person. There is a tendency amongst people to A, like I said, simplify things, and B, in my opinion, it's out of a drive of impatience to really get to the bottom of things. You have to, I think, if we're talking about stoicism, one must become content with not knowing everything.
You
get me? This guy, I don't even know this guy. This guy agreed.
For sure.
Let me say one thing about the Bible. I said one must become content with not knowing everything. Come on, too much knowledge is.
You know, I said earlier, when the antidote to
I agree with that.
is I don't know.
Yeah, and I'm with that.
And I'm with that. But for the sake of
You make theories. I'm with that. But I think it's a hard line to tread. It's a hard line to tread between belief and theory and fact. People get these mixed up a lot. It gets muddled.
But everyone will construct their understanding with that model, with a bit of this, a bit of that, and it comes in to make the whole story.
Yeah, as long as they're able to present it neatly, they're able to discern between the difference between fact, theory, and opinion, then we can have a more detailed discussion about big things like existence of life.
Really?
No, you can try harder. I think you can try harder. And let me make a point about biology that he said, observe an animal, etc. Now, my point about this is that, observation is the only way you can learn it, any sort of process, right? But come on, I mean, let's not stop there. Look at the levels of observation.
See you later, man.
If you want to understand human behavior,
I love your mind. Keep it up. I listen to this guy, William, man.
one thing I was going to say is, autism is only a recent way of understanding people's behavior. I mean, you ain't going to find no 16th century or even 18th or even 19th or even most of the 20th century literature trying to understand human behaviors through autism. It's a very new thing. And we haven't fully implemented autism into our understanding of behaviors, right? You agree, you brought up autism. Now take that same approach to any other biological or psychological way of understanding things. Nutrition. Nutrition completely changes the way someone behaves. A lack of zinc will undoubtedly throw you into depression. A huge amount of zinc will make you act differently. If you put someone who has superloaded zinc into a social situation, they'll act entirely different if they had no zinc or a different kind of. I mean, another great example. We don't even know how the hormonal system works properly. We don't even know how the digestive system works properly. The adrenal system.
But we've got good ideas.
Not good enough. Not good enough.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean you can throw out there.
I'm not throwing out.
Well, then what are we doing?
Because I'm trying to limit my reliance on these to how much we know about them. And we don't know that much about evolutionary psychology, so I don't put too much reliance on it. But we know a lot about zinc. That I can say right now, if you have a deficiency in zinc, you'll be fucked. Facts.
Do you understand it completely?
Okay, no, I wouldn't go that far. You got me there. Sorry for touching you. But can I just conclude my very long point? There are so many ways of looking at human behavior.
Alright, cool.
Don't simplify it. We have to. I believe in complexification, not simplification.
Complexification.
It's so
I've never
complex.
heard of that.
Humans are so complex.
But there is nothing. I agree. But there's ultimately nothing you and I can say apart from our own psychological experience
And knowledge. No, it is. You either know about things or you don't.
I think in relationship to what you're talking about, there isn't complete knowledge, and therefore, in your own standards, could never really meet your standards.
That's how we should all be. Aim high. See, people don't want to aim high. That's what it comes down to. People would rather look for a convenient theory to explain everything. I'm not with that, bro.
I don't want to offend you.
Oh, you got me.
Tables turned.
But it feels like a slightly oppositional stance.
Yeah.
Which doesn't perhaps move the narrative of.
No, I think it does.
There we go.
Maybe not here. Maybe not here. But no, I mean, look, man. If you read, if you're one who enjoys knowledge, you come across writers who do not simplify. They will remind the reader to complexify. They won't shy away. This ain't some fucking master's level or PhD thesis shit, which tries to conveniently explain a large. No, we're talking about people who are willing.
Discussion here that you can't go into the whole depth of the book. That's the reality. So what we're trying to do is communicate for whatever reason we're trying to communicate for interest, for knowledge, on a very kind of effectively see it a different way. Because if we open up to those complexities, in fact, actually there is no truth.
No, but that's come on. Why would you even make that conclusion? Because if people made that conclusion in the 1900s, they wouldn't get anywhere. There were always people who thought that it can't be this. We need to keep looking. I'm with that. Keep looking.
I'm not talking about
as a society and as an individual.
I'm not talking about the broader seeking. I'm talking about.
I think that's what mine links into.
Snapshot. So if that's the stance
He's talking about this conversation, like right now.
Well, I mean, we don't exist in a vacuum, though.
What I'm saying is that, if you I'm not talking about general seeking, instead of saying that actually it's what's the function of these kind of conversations. And if we took to a start centre, I don't think many people here would get very far. Now that might be a good thing. You might well just not come here.
Maybe, yeah.
That's
You're saying trying to reach some sort of understanding or conclusion is more valuable here than just saying everything's more complicated than we understand.
Not if it's a cop-out.
I think that's what you're saying.
Yeah, but not if it's a cop-out. If someone agrees, okay, fine, look, Jews control the world, fair enough. Bro, that's not what we want here. And it's equally bad if we say, you know what, it's all about evolution because we're monkeys. No, it's not. We both know it. I might be a bit vague in my complexification process, but you never know, it might inspire someone else to say, what about this? What about nutrition? I try to enrich it with that. I'm welcoming you guys to enrich it with some other ways of looking at things. If we want to understand social behaviors, why not talk about nutrition in the same importance as evolutionary psychology? That's what I'm trying to do. I don't think let's do that. Come on.
When I asked you about what alternatives of understanding,
because there is none. Human knowledge is
so it
limited.
doesn't really matter about nutrition, even though it is a big factor. Hormonal is a big factor.
Yeah. I don't know enough about it. I don't know enough about it.
Pills,
100%. I'm in such agreement with this.
What an amazing world it is that there's billions of absolute ways of understanding.
And that's reality.
Absolute limited depth of it. Limited, we get so very, very shallow knowledge about everything.
That's the truth.
There are also areas like the fight or flight system when you think about biology, which is really quite interesting.
I don't deny
method of kind of putting a framework on certain kind of behaviour. It doesn't mean it's right.
No, it doesn't. Let's look at the fight or flight with other things. That's all I ask for.
I think that, that's a big ask.
It has to be.
No wonder it's an uphill battle, because basically that top of the hill of all knowledge is not going to happen
But it's
today.
out there. The knowledge is out there. I mean, look.
No, I don't think it is.
See, now you're taking my position that I took earlier. I said humans don't know anything. Well, they do if someone could somehow know everything. But we can't. We live in a very complex age. I keep saying it. An increasingly complex age. The information age. We live in the Look, we are lucky, man.
We live in the multiverse.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about that. I don't know enough about that.
Is that not complicated enough for you?
Well, there you go. Complexify it. No, but I mean,
Well, that's complex.
One thing.
Kind of simple. It's very complex.
Well,
I don't know enough
one
about
thing we
it.
can
It's
all
very
agree.
interesting.
One thing we can all agree is that in the information age, information is increasingly prevalent and complex.
That's true.
But
So we would have to agree.
I agree on that.
The description is describing the label. So it's like
Sorry.
saying in this pathway, it is very hard.
Forget analogy. Can we just stick to what I'm saying?
Are we moving the conversation to a different topic? Because I think we've drive this one into the ground.
It happens.
Just to say, join the fucking combo, guys. We need some fresh blood here.
Let me conclude.
I'll let you conclude.
Yeah, sorry.
Not that it's my position.
What's his name again?
But you conclude.
Frederick Jameson. Do you know Frederick Jameson? He wrote Postmodernism, the cultural logic of late capitalism.
Oh God.
Trust me, that shit will fuck you up.
In a bad way.
You don't want to read this shit because this is the kind of writer I'm talking about. He doesn't slack. He tries to approach the modern life as complex as it, with the attention it should deserve. And he's only one man. And one thing he says is that superstructure. No one on earth can even attempt to centralize all knowledge right now into some sort of understandable form. it's too complex. We live in a complex age, man. You've got scientists, different scientific disciplines, not working together. They work in their own little sort of niche. Evolutionary psychologists don't work with fucking nutritionists, or maybe actually that example. But you can find an example of like great niches of knowledge which don't interrelate, and out of that we don't get any sort of universal understanding of things, which is possible. It's there now. The pooling of intellectual resource. We don't have that. And
I think we do. I think it does occur.
I love your optimism, but not as much as it could.
Your conclusion is all knowledge isn't in one place.
Even if it was, I don't think there's a single human who could do it.
Well,
I mean,
Oh, God,
wow.
yeah.
No, that's interesting. That could change the game.
That's multiverse.
I don't know much about that.
Okay, so the idea is that if this can be created, this illusion or this experience can be created by a computer or other artificial means. If it
Like the Matrix.
Yeah, but the concept is, I'm very negative about that. The concept
It's a
is,
film. Oh,
It's an idea.
it's funny how the theory popped up after the film, isn't it? I
No,
mean,
it's not the film, wasn't the first
For real?
theory. Yeah, for real.
a computer simulation of real life wasn't before the film.
Talking about like
there was a book.
upper levels of reality.
What are you talking about?
The other issue
What
is,
book? Sorry, just say it. So I know.
there is, if that's possible, and lots of people throughout the year, throughout time, including will consider this an illusion. If it's possible to be an illusion, then it's more likely. So it could be, think of it in computer terms. It doesn't have to be in computer terms. If a computer can create this illusion, like you're just a player, we're all kind of unreal
NPCs,
basically. If that can be created, which is that hard actually, close to it. If that's possible, then it's more likely that can be duplicated a million times, and you're less likely to be the original than you are in the illusion. That's the multiverse theory. It's one multiverse.
Okay, when I was asking for complexification, I didn't mean that.
Man, you see, your own principles are destroying you.
No, but that's like, don't you think that's just mad?
No, I think it's probably likely.
It's probably like
Yeah, it seems like an illusion. We're talking about simulation theory. Yeah, we've talked about it before.
If there's the capacity for,
No wonder people are committing suicide, man. People do, I'm not in the right universe. Fuck that. Bro, I ain't with that, bro. I don't know about no multiverses,
the other more kind of grounded multiverse theory is that you've got the expansion and contraction of the universe at an infinitely fast time. That it's always creating every probability in every universe and every chance all the time. Yeah. And that every decision you make, you effectively kind of move between different kind of and that's like, so your pathway is the way that you move through reality. The conditions that the beliefs that you've created in your mind, and that actually creates your universe. In fact, we have our own universe, and that is made up of all our beliefs.
Like, I'm surprised you don't actually take this as seriously as you do.
Well, who knows how seriously we take it, but it's an idea. I don't know what he thinks, but it's an idea that's very, very
Why not
interesting.
Christianity? This is as far-fetched as anything one can come up with.
I think you're coming at
Don't
it.
you think?
I'm not.
Don't think?
No, I don't, because I don't want to offend you,
Why
but
not?
I don't think you've looked into it at all.
I haven't.
Well, then it's hard to make statements
Maybe it's
about
just
it.
the way you've explained it. Well, you got to admit. Sounds pretty fucking far out.
You know what?
Not from my point of view at the moment, not at all.
You've really transformed your kind of position of not knowing to. That's bullshit.
I never said that. But I'm saying, I mean,
Can I just?
someone says God created the world in 6 days. I don't think it's that much different from saying, there's millions of universes.
What you can look up.
Yeah, fine. Tell me the book.
What you can look up, as you're able, but what you can look up is start with the double-slit experiment.
Right. Okay. I know a little bit.
Okay, and then you've got the conclusions from that and entanglement is that you've got effectively the splitting of electrons at a distance, and you affect one and it affects the other. One of the only conclusions of why that can happen is because there's no space-time distance. And where is there no space-time distance? Like in a computer, you've got actually, this is like a chip, there's no millions of miles across the universe. It's just a matter of electronic impulse in that chip. So it actually does give you a pathway, an argument for evolution.
Pathway, yeah.
Well, no, because
I'll give you that.
If it was proof, then I think there would be in the papers, we're doing the Daily Mail.
I agree. But
Man, just research it and blow your mind. It's fucking fascinating stuff.
I'm not asking for proof. There's a lot of things that can't be proven. Especially the reality of the
I learned about it that you had this kind of, but it seems so.
I mean, look, man, take it at face value. It sounds like madness at face value. I'm sure if I learn more about it, I'll understand why the more serious people take it seriously.
I thought it would fit well with your complexity philosophy.
I try to be grounded in my complexity.
Grounded in your
Not too complex.
I think I'm done, man. I'm tired. I'm gonna kill this one. So good convo. Maybe we talk more of that.
It's good. See you later, guys.
Content over everything from your melody. Man, say it straight. Man, don't listen to BBC. Man, don't listen to ITV.
I can't guarantee that it's only going to be people who will use them, like, because if we let people use guns, people are probably going to abuse that.
No, definitely. Like I said, we've already had 2 mass shootings this weekend, right? So there are bad people. But my argument is that if I don't own a firearm, if someone tries to attack me, how can I prevent it? I'm not a particularly good fighter.